Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia for an NFC North preview show. NFC North, again, best division in football. These teams have been pretty hot all season. The Vikings are the only one who's really kind of faltering. I mean, the Bears also coming off a loss last weekend, but the biggest matchup arguably of the season in Lions-Packers this weekend. It depends. Maybe Lions-Vikings was bigger. Take your pick. But another huge NFC North matchup. If you're enjoying these videos, we've had a lot of success lately. We appreciate everyone for listening. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You can become a member by going to our homepage and selecting join to get in on the action for some pigskin pick'em challenges. We'll announce the winners. You could see who won, but we'll announce the winner tomorrow with Jack from the Week 8 competition, who will be receiving, actually the two people who will be receiving t-shirts. There was a big tie for first, Ziggy. I think it was a 6 or 7 way tie for first place in Week 8, so it comes down to the tiebreaker, and it was really close between a few people, but there were two winners, and we'll be sending them over some merch from the Paul Farrington Show. And if you just want merch in general, go in the description, click on the link to the merch store, and you can get some PFS show merch. That's tough to say 3 times fast. And if you can't watch on YouTube, you can always listen on audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us. Ziggy, how are you doing on a Wednesday morning here, the Wednesday morning episode?
I'm excited for football. That's what I got to say. Things have been better. Things have been worse. Took a big trip to the laundromat yesterday, so everything's clean. I'm ready to go.
It always feels better after you're done putting away your laundry, I think. When you finally clean things up, and after the big weekend here at my house for Notre Dame Navy this weekend, which you were at, as people could probably tell from some of our postings this week, I finally was able to clean up. I have a little bit more to go, but you just feel better once you clean everything. At least for me, I need a clean environment.
When I cleaned stuff up, this time I found cockroaches. So my trouble with pests continues.
Well, that's better than a year and a half ago when our listeners.
And as I think about it, at least rats, they're pretty easy to track.
Oh, dude, no, you don't.
Cockroaches, they could be anywhere.
I don't know.
I found a little cockroach in my bed.
Oh, Ziggy, geez, we might have to get you out of. Please subscribe so we can help get Ziggy out of these environments here.
Life is a grad student, Paul. Life is a grad student.
Yeah. All right, so 3 really fun games this weekend. There's Vikings Colts, which was actually flexed into Sunday Night Football. Of course, now Anthony Richardson, who is probably one of the drivers of putting that game into Sunday Night Football, is no longer playing, with Joe Flacco taking over as the starting quarterback. We have Bears and Cardinals. The Cardinals are actually in first place in the NFC West right now. If you ask random football fans right now, I bet most people would not know the Arizona Cardinals would be hosting a playoff game if the season ended today. And your Cardinals, hey, Ziggy, you were on that early this offseason. So right now, through 8 games, congratulations on that pick looking okay, even though they're only 4-4. But we'll start, of course, with the biggest game in the NFC North, the Lions and the Packers. The Lions a 3.5-point favorite. It's in Lambeau Field, 4:25, the Fox game of the week. Tom Brady will be in the building. A little light rain, low 50s. It should be a fun one from Lambeau. And we all remember what happened last year in Lambeau Field. It was one of those games where it finally felt like the Lions had taken over the division from the Packers. The Packers were going to be a thing of the past. Jordan Love looked bad. Detroit was up 27-3 at halftime. Early in the season, Thursday Night Football, I remember watching that game thinking, geez, Packers are dead. Like they are done. And then, of course, we flash forward to Thanksgiving. They play again, and Green Bay has one of their best games of the season. Jordan Love's in the middle of the hot streak, and they go into Detroit. Our friend Tom Monroe gets mad when I say this. I thought they pounded the Lions in that game. I didn't think it was really that close. I don't know what Tom's watching or other Lions fans, but that was not a close game. I was eating dinner pretty early during the Lions-Packers game on Thanksgiving last year. So 2 pretty bad games for 2 of the better teams in the NFC. We were we were looking forward to the potential of them playing in the NFC Championship game last year before Green Bay choked away the 49er game. So we get that matchup here. And Ziggy, since I've done a lot of talking off the bat here, what are you most looking forward to in watching in this Lions-Packers matchup for first place in the division on the line?
I'm most looking forward to watching the weather because this is the Lions' first game outdoors all season.
Crazy, right? I couldn't believe just saw that as well.
Yeah, no, okay, for real, what I'm looking forward to. What I'm looking forward to is what Josh Jacobs is going to be able to do this game. He is my number one player to watch. He's coming off a great game against the Jaguars. And if Jordan Love's not 100%, whether he plays or whether Malik Willis is playing, either way, there's going to be a lot for Jacobs to shoulder. And in order to beat this Lions team, you need to be able to match their run game. Montgomery and Gibbs, best running back duo in the NFL. Those guys, Sonic and Knuckles, can absolutely take it out of you. I'll give them the nickname. They want the nickname. I'll give them the nickname. They've earned the right to a nickname. The Lions have two guys. The Packers have one guy. His name is Josh Jacobs, and he might be better than either of them. When he's playing his best, he looks like the best running back in the league. A lot's going to be on him for this game.
All right, chill out a little bit. Did you see him against the Jaguars? Yeah, I like Josh Jacobs. Best running back in the league is a bit of a stretch. I'd probably take Jameer
when
Gibbs.
He's on. I'm not saying he is, because he's not always on. But when he's on, he's as good as anyone.
Yeah, so you could get away with that, yes. Josh Jacobs is an excellent running back, and you're right. If Jordan Love doesn't play, or if he's just less than 100%, there's going to be a heavy load on Josh Jacobs for multiple reasons. One is, Malik Willis, for as good as he's been in his filling in situations, I don't know how much Matt LaFleur really trusts his arm. I think he's okay with these shorter passes as opposed to the downfield attacks you see with Jordan Love. And secondly, you want to take the air out of the football against Detroit. You want to run the ball. You want that ground and pound game to try and slow down a Lions offense that's setting records right now. I mean, 24 touchdowns and 19 incompletions for Jared Goff and the Lions offense over the past 4 weeks. They've been unstoppable. So how can you slow them down? Well, don't give them the football. And that's going to rely on Josh Jacobs having some big games. And the Packers' run game has been awesome without Jordan Love this year. Just going over it against the Jaguars, you said 127 yards on the ground, 170 as a team. Versus the Colts, it was 127 for Josh Jacobs. Against the Colts, Jacobs ran for 151. Team went for 261. Against the Titans, they went for 188 as a team. They've been very successful on the ground without Jordan Love. That could be a little different against Detroit. Detroit's defense, we've sort of poked fun at them throughout the year, just pretending that they have a chink in the armor. But the Lions' defense has been very, very good this season. Now, obviously, losing Aiden Hutchinson was a big hit, but going against the Detroit defense is a lot different than the Jaguars, the Colts, or the Titans. And I'm not sure I'm ready to really buy into the Packers getting away with this. We're just going to run down your throat against the Lions team that's one of the best in football.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that it's going to be tough. And whether it's Malik Willis playing or Jordan Love, they'll certainly need a lot. But on the other side of the ball, I mean, the player I'm watching, I think, for the Packers has to be Evan Williams. You saw last week, I don't think a lot of people outside of sort of the NFC North media sphere realize that this guy's playing like one of the best safeties in the NFL. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when he missed last game, things fell apart for the Packers defensively. Him and Xavier McKinney might be the two most important players on the Packers defense at this point, given how they've looked when they've played together versus what happens when you take one of them out. And as you say, the Lions have the best run game in the league. They've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who can absolutely carve you up. Last week he didn't really do anything. He had 2 catches and a score, which was nice.
He didn't have to, though.
That's because the Lions didn't need him.
Yeah.
Packers absolutely need Evan Williams to get healthy, and they need this defense to step up, because if they can't slow down the Lions, give Josh Jacobs 300 yards. It does not matter.
It's funny, Ziggy. This might be a situation where me and you are actually rooting for Green Bay. I know there are some Vikings fans who never root for the Packers, but in terms of what's best for the Vikings, I think I'm probably pulling for the Packers to win this game, because I still want to win the division, frankly, at this point.
We've got the tiebreaker over him at this point.
And we got the tiebreaker over Green Bay. So, I mean, I'm actually kind of pulling for the Packers to win this one. It's weird. There are Vikings fans who would never, ever accept what I'm saying, and I understand.
Like it's against the Lions, right? It's not like it's against some random team.
Yeah, I mean, but the Lions, like, who really cares? I mean, it's the Packers. The Packers are the ones that we all can unite against and say, all right, they're the common enemy in the NFC North. But hey, like when I want to win a Super Bowl, and that might sound a little far fetched right now, but yeah, I want to win the division, and I will say it's just finding ways to beat Detroit right now are really difficult. And I think with Jordan Love, the Packers are one of the few teams that actually could do that because they can keep up with them. But with Malik Willis, I'm not sure I see a way for them unless the defense just plays out of their minds, I don't think they'll be able to keep up. And I'm trying to figure out ways in my head that could work, but it might just rely on Malik Willis having the game of his life. And really, like, you might have to turn to Malik Willis's arm, and he's going to have to win it. And hey, if he does that, that's amazing for Malik. That's the kind of thing that can get you, a lot more money next season as well. We've talked about that a few times, but I have a lot of difficulty finding ways for Green Bay to win this game that don't involve their defense just playing out possessed.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take all hands on deck. You're going to have to be able to shut down the run game. After shutting down the run game, you've got maybe an even harder task of breaking through this offensive line to get through to Jared Goff. Thinking. And even if you can break through and start putting pressure on Jared Goff, he's probably just going to throw a quick pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you need a cornerback to be able to stop that. So if there's any weakness on your defense, we've seen this from the Lions, they won't exploit it a little bit. They'll put up 40-plus points on you if they can detect any weakness. Indeed, in 3 of their last 4 games, they've put up 40-plus, 42 against the Seahawks, 47 against the Cowboys, 52 against the Titans. You can't make this up, right? If there's any weakness, they'll blow you up. Special teams, the Packers fans can't be happy seeing how the Titans special teams absolutely blew it against the Lions, because Packers fans know their special teams is often not up to the task. So you need to be able to win there too. You need to be able to win on offense against a great Lions defense. Like, this Lions team just is the most complete in the NFL at this point, and it's so hard to deal with.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out if we're overhyping it a little bit, because the more you're hearing about Detroit right now, and for good reason, I think they have the most points scored over a 4-game stretch since the Ravens in 2019. But they're starting to sound, people are starting to make them sound, including us to a degree in this segment, like they're unbeatable. And I don't think they're unbeatable. They're just very, very good. It just takes, when you're that complete, it takes a team effort. And it's specifically the Packers defense. Yeah, you're going to have to be great on the back end. But that front 7 too, specifically your D-line, you got to get through the best offensive line in football. And if they can do that, like if you win up front against Detroit, you could slow down the run a little bit, get after Goff. When he's outside, he's a less effective quarterback over the course of his career. I need to do more deep diving before I can officially like confirm that. But all the numbers suggest when Jared Goff is outside, he's worse than when he's in a dome, and he's been in a dome for 7 weeks this season. So rain maybe could help you out a little bit there. Like, you're gonna need some
rain,
of those
just
factors.
give it to the run game. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. No, I know.
No, that's what it feels like. And teams get unlucky sometimes, right? But you're going to need something like a weird fumble or a weird interception or a muffed punt or something to beat this Detroit team, because it really feels like at this point in the season they are clicking, and stuff like that happens. And the Packers have shown they're a good enough team that they can make weird things happen and take advantage of it. But, the Packers are coming off a 3-point victory over Jacksonville. The Lions are coming off a shellacking of a terrible team and a win over one of the best teams in the NFL. It feels like these teams might be heading in different directions. And I think that's why it's so important that the Packers are able to show up for this game.
See, it's hard for me to get on board with that, though, because it all comes down to getting Love healthy. And if Love misses this game, which it looks like Jordan Love will miss this game, you can't put too much stock into it. Like, Green Bay will probably lose if Love doesn't play. But if Love's healthy, the Packers offense is as good as anyone's in the league. It comes down to getting that Jordan Love who is awesome without the critical mistakes, the critical interceptions, which we've seen a lot of this season. So unfortunately, this matchup that we've been really looking forward to, you're probably going to have to wait until December 5th when they go to Detroit to get the real version of this that you want. But at that point in the season, I'm expecting both of them to still for Detroit playing their best football and Green Bay to probably be playing their best football. So that'll be a lot of fun. On the other hand, though, if you're a Packer fan and if you're able to win this, steal this one without Love playing, oh yeah, you're all in. It's all systems go. But yeah, this is a huge game. I think this feels like the kind of game, Ziggy, where if Detroit wins, they still have Minnesota again, they still have Green Bay again, but they're both in their own building. And they kind of get to put their foot down on the division, on the throat a little bit, because the Vikings are reeling. Green Bay will have Love banged up a bit, and you had the 2-game lead on them. Like, this is a chance for Detroit to really put their foot down on everyone in the NFC North and separate themselves.
Yeah, so that's definitely right. And I think what it's going to come down to, if nothing else, is just can this Packers defense handle the Lions offense? Because I'm confident. I mean, we've seen enough from Malik Willis. I think he'll be able to figure it out.
He'll be all right.
I think Jacobs will have a decent game. Like, I think you've got all those weapons, all those receivers. Jaden Reed will get it done. Like, the offense will be, if not good enough, close to good enough. I think the decisive matchup is going to be the Detroit offensive line versus a Packers defensive line that sometimes has looked like they're one of the best in the NFL and sometimes hasn't been able to do anything.
Yeah, it depends on who shows up for that. And it'll be fun. I mean, it'll be a lot of fun. It seems like Detroit has kind of just owned this division for the past 2 years now. So, I saw that Brian Flores' defense in 23 games has allowed 30 or more points only 4 times. 3 of them were to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, the Lions own us.
All right, so who do you have? Do you have a quick prediction here? We'll probably elaborate a little bit more during the full preview show on Thursday, but just to end out this discussion, who do you have?
Lions are 3.5-point favorites going into Green Bay. I think they win. I think they cover.
I do as well. Again, I'm rooting for the Packers in this one, shockingly, and I think that Green Bay they'll show up, but I expect Detroit to begin to pull away. And actually, I think like Green Bay obviously will show up, but I think Detroit wins this one maybe by double digits without Jordan Love playing. So, yep, I got the Lions as well. Okay, let's continue on another 4:00 game this week. The Bears and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are 1.5-point favorites. They've won 3 of their last 4. I said off the top of the show, they're actually leading the NFC West right now. Shockingly, I don't think most people would realize that. And the Bears are coming off that crushing loss to the Commanders where it was so funny going back and watching. I actually felt bad for Bears fans watching all these videos, these reels of Bears fans so excited, like basically celebrating the win already. Like some of their defensive players during the play.
Tariq Stevenson.
And, next thing you know, just a miracle play happens. And you could say heads should be rolling in Chicago over plays like that. But frankly, to me, it's just a crazy fluke. Those things happen once in a while. They're very rare. They shouldn't happen. That's why people are mad. But yeah, every once in a while, you have a play like the Minneapolis Miracle. You have a play like the Miami Miracle. Like weird things happen in the NFL. So the only thing you can do is kind of button up and come back next week to work and get the job done. So this is a redemption game for Chicago against the Cardinals team that you and I were talking off air before we started. They're kind of weird to pin down because some weeks they look really good and Kyler can be unstoppable, and then there's weeks where they just get blown out by the Packers. Or they'll get blown out. Who's their other one? Buffalo, they kind of kept close earlier in the season. But Arizona just has these games where they completely fall apart. Or Kyler's amazing. So who shows up for Arizona? Who are you thinking you see in this one? The good Kyler, good Arizona, or the one where the Bears should be able to take care of business?
I think Kyler Murray's got a lot of momentum going into this game. As you said, like the Packers game was a blowout. That was unfortunate. But he played well enough against the Chargers to win. He won a shootout against Tua and a Dolphins offense that looked better than they had all season. He beat the 49ers in San Francisco. That's 3 of his last 4 games. And honestly, I know I've been higher on Kyler Murray than just about anybody else. But there have been moments this season where you've seen him been able to ignite. And I think the Chicago Bears defense is going to bring that out of him. He's mobile. He's been an effective passer. Marvin Harrison Jr., I know if you play fantasy, he's been one of the most frustrating players this season. But if you're not a fantasy guy, he's had a good season and he's been really important for this Cardinals offense when he's gotten online, which isn't every game, but has been plenty of them. I think that even though this Bears team is better than the Cardinals, going into Arizona and facing a Kyler Murray, who at this point has to be thinking to himself, if I play well enough, we can win the division.
Yeah.
That's a recipe to lose.
See, I'm looking at this from a perspective of the defenses. I do think you'll get solid Kyler Murray. And I think Caleb, the Washington defense has been pretty good this year. Caleb looked a lot better against Carolina, against Jacksonville. So I think he was kind of due for a little bit of regression because he had been elevating his game a lot week to week. The Bears defense ranked pretty highly in most categories across the NFL. I believe they're fourth in points per game allowed, and the Cardinals defense is sort of on the other spectrum of that. They're not they're not really that good in most categories. So I'm looking at this where I think Kyler is a handful for any team, but I think the Bears defense is going to be able to get to him enough, potentially force a turnover or two here or there. And look at their last few games. I mean, they held the Commanders, outside of the Hail Mary, to 12 points. That Commanders offense, I know Jayden Daniels was a little banged up, but they had been routing people. And the Bears defense shut them down. The Jaguars, 16 points. The Panthers, 10. The Rams, 18. Not great teams, but they still shut them down. I don't have the Cardinals on the same level as the other division leaders. I think they're they're mediocre to a little bit below average in the league. And I think the Bears are going to be able to walk away with the win here in a good game. I mean, this will be an entertaining one. It's Caleb and Kyler is a fun matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that a lot's going to come down to the defenses. But the thing that worries me with Caleb Williams is that you said he had a hot stretch against the Jaguars and the Panthers, and that is true. But we're not talking, those aren't bad defenses.
Yeah.
Those are the two worst defenses in the entire NFL. The Cardinals defense, I think, is not very good. It's probably bottom 10, but it's closer to the top of the bottom 10 than the bottom of the bottom 10, right? Maybe they're like 24, 25, but those two are on an entirely different level. And we've seen, the Bears don't have to be playing great defenses for Caleb Williams to struggle, right? He didn't look particularly good against the Titans defense. He didn't look particularly good against the Colts defense. I mean, he was okay, but he threw the ball 52 times. He didn't look great against the Commanders defense, which is just an average defense.
Yep.
I am not ready to count out what Kyler Murray is able to do. And I'm not ready to count out the Cardinals defense either and being able to limit Caleb Williams just because he had some hot games against two teams that are garbage.
I totally get where you're coming from in that as well. I think I'm a bigger Kyler fan than most people. Jack is not the biggest Kyler fan in the world. I think he's neutral on him at this point. He's worked his way up a bit. But no, Kyler Murray has the ability to win any game. And that's why, you give him the big contract. And Caleb, you're still kind of waiting for that consistency to really find itself. And I don't think you're going to see it until maybe late this year, if at all. My guess is probably not even this year. You'll get multiple games of very, very good Caleb Williams. So I get where you're coming from. But yeah, I'm going to go the other way in this one. I'm going to go Bears in a close one. I don't think it'll be. Did you
see how bad the Bears' offensive line was last week?
Yeah, no, I know.
He was pressured on 60% of his dropbacks.
I know.
That's so hard. I get that he's good at avoiding sacks, but it's very hard to win when that's how your offensive line is playing. Meanwhile, you look at what Caleb Williams, or not, what the Cardinals' offensive line was able to do for Kyler Murray. The Dolphins' defensive line isn't great, but there are some decent guys on it. Cardinals' offensive line looked incredible last week, and Kyler Murray really took advantage of that.
No, and they're at home. I mean, it's funny. Whenever this is kind of how it goes, guys. When you're debating with Ziggy, he's very good at pulling up his numbers. Where all of a sudden you're going like, geez, like, am I really picking the Bears to win on the road? But I'm sticking with the Bears defense, which has been very, very good this season. If the Cardinals win too, you said it, Ziggy. They have their eyes on a larger prize than a lot of people thought this year. Who do they have coming up? I just want to take a look here. They have the Bears, the Jets, at Seattle, at Minnesota, host Seattle, host the Patriots. I mean, those are all winnable games there.
So their remaining strength of schedule by opponent win percentage is 31st. The only team with an easier schedule remaining is Tampa Bay. Meanwhile, the 49ers have the fourth hardest schedule remaining. Right? They got to play Detroit, Buffalo, Green Bay. This Cardinals team, this is a critical game for them, but if they win this, like you say, there's two games against the Seahawks. There's the Panthers, Patriots, Jets, and Rams. The Rams are, I think, better than the record is, but otherwise, those are some bottom feeders. The division is in play.
Well, the importance of this game, we've been talking a lot about division because it's fun for these teams that, the Bears haven't won the NFC North. Who's our freshman year of college or sophomore year of college, like in 2018. It's been a while. But this game could have pretty big wild card implications too, where, if the Bears lose this one, They have Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, San Fran, Minnesota, Detroit. Those are 6 of the next 7 games. So I think this is actually close to a must win for Chicago, where if they lose to the Arizona, one, you fall behind Arizona in the wild card standings later in the season. And 2, you got all these tough division games where, I'm sorry, you're not going to sweep the Lions. You're not going to sweep the Packers. You're probably not going to sweep the Vikings. So you got to get these games like this one in Arizona next weekend hosting the Patriots. I think these are 2 must wins. That's what makes the Washington loss so devastating, is you had this chance to pile up wins on the teams that you could be competing for wild card spots with. And now, to let one fall the way they did was devastating for Chicago. But I view this almost as a must win for the Bears.
Yeah, if your goal is to make the playoffs, and while that may not have been their goal starting out, may not be the most important goal, that's certainly where they are as an organization. You have to be able to win this. Will they? Who knows? The Bears have a tough schedule remaining. By strength of schedule, actually, they have the hardest schedule remaining in the NFL.
It's because our
6
division's
NFC
good.
North games: San Francisco, Seattle, Arizona, Patriots. Ugh.
Yeesh.
So the Cardinals are probably the 2nd or 3rd easiest opponent left on that list. You have to win this if you want to make the playoffs.
All right, let's go to our last game here. The Colts and the Vikings. The Vikings are killing me right now. I'm still not over the Darisaw injury. That was really, really, really disappointing to see.
You called it on the show. You said Jordan Love's going to look like his knee's been blown off. He'll be back in 3 weeks. Christian Darisaw, he's going to walk off and look like it's a little minor boo-boo, and he'll be out for the season.
Yeah, that's just how it works. I think he tore his ACL and his MCL. So that's just how it goes as a Vikings fan. But the season goes on, and then they're 5-2. They're competing in the toughest division in football. You got to, kind of like the Bears after losing that Hail Mary, you just got to go on to next week and figure it out. So they're hosting the Colts in prime time. Kind of surprising to see Anthony Richardson benched for Joe Flacco. I think we all agreed on this show that that's the best move for the Colts to win like this week and maybe to win next week. But when you're talking about Indianapolis's future, it's not Joe Flacco. And are you expecting Joe Flacco to take you to the Super Bowl? Maybe that's what they're thinking, but I can't get behind the decision to bench Richardson when you knew this is who he was. He was going to take time.
I don't think they're just benching him because of play.
Well,
I think that's part of it. It's a bad look to check out of a game in a must-win situation because you're feeling tired. You don't do that in the NFL, especially not if you're doing that as the quarterback. That suggests that you just don't know where you are, what your role is. And look, he is. I know you say this is who he is and he needs game time and the rest, but we are rapidly
I don't care about the rest.
No. I just mean everything else.
Okay.
I just mean that he is running out of time to show that he can play quarterback at an NFL level. So we're not talking about, you can set aside completion percentage. You can say that's not the most important stat in the world, and it's not. But 41%.
Oh, it's horrible.
31%. Anthony Richardson, I don't think it's a bad idea. He's got a career completion percentage of 44% or 50%. It's 44% this season. It might make sense to just say, look, man, you're not ready. We've got to get you some more practice before we throw you out there again, because it's looking worse as the season goes on, not better.
Yeah, I see where you're coming. I understand as well where you're coming from, but I just think this is the sort of thing where you just kind of ride it out here and let
Is throwing him out, having Brian Flores light this guy up. He takes 10 hits, probably gets injured again, and completes 20% of his passes. Is that good for his development?
Or maybe he comes out and he has a good game and gains some confidence, and next week the Colts are feeling a lot better. He probably
He's
won't.
Not ready.
All right. And you know what? For Colts fans Colts fans are probably looking at this going, are you kidding me right now? How is this happening to us? He looked so good at the beginning of last year before he got hurt. 10 games, right, Ziggy? Is it 10 games he's played in his career? Maybe. This is still very, very early in the Anthony Richardson story. A lot of times people say I think GMs are saying currently it's Thanksgiving, a year 2 is when people are making decisions. But with Anthony Richardson, sort of have to readjust given the injuries that he's had. So yeah, that's the side that a lot of Colts fans are going to look at, Ziggy, is your side of things, saying, hey, he's not ready. let's sit him for a bit. Joe Flacco's been playing really well. Flacco's probably a good guy to learn from as well. And I totally understand that. Then there's my side of, hey, let him figure it out and keep going and learn from his mistakes. Now, at the same time, I understand when I'm saying that could lead to him getting injured again if he doesn't figure out sliding. So you could determine what camp you choose. But we get Joe Flacco. The Vikings are going to play Joe Flacco this weekend. And that makes it harder for us because Joe has been better than Richardson this season.
It's not close.
No, it's not close. The Colts offense, however, is not the Rams offense with Puka and Cooper Kupp playing. It's not the Lions offense and the juggernaut they've become. It's not the Packers offense and the explosive plays that Jordan Love can make. So I feel a lot better playing the Colts this weekend than I do the Matthew Stafford, Love, Jared Goff. This is an easier matchup. So for the people who have been ridiculing the Vikings defense, and they deserve it, they've been pretty bad for a few weeks now. This is a matchup. This is a get right game here. This is a game where you can settle back down and get back on the winning track. Then you have Jacksonville, Tennessee. With that said, since it's a get right game against an inferior opponent, if you lose, the sky is falling. And I don't think that that's an overstatement.
No, they can't lose this game. Fortunately, they did make things a little bit easier on themselves by trading for Cam Robinson. So that'll help shore up the left side of our offensive line. But no, I mean, this Colts team is not a team you can completely ignore with Joe Flacco in, right? You've got DeForest Buckner is back. Jonathan Taylor is back. Downs and Pittman make a solid wide receiver duo. There's a lot to be afraid of on this Colts team. You've got Joe Flacco dropping back and delivering the ball. I hope that with a little mini bye from the Thursday night game and a big kick in the butt, the Vikings come out and just look furious. We should be able to win this game, right? You've got Sam Darnold. You've got the better offense. You've got a defense that should be better. But it'll be tough, I think. When bad vibes start getting into the building, I mean, you've seen this with the Vikings season after season. Things start great. Everything looks good. And once that bit of doubt creeps in, disaster strikes. I have to say, worried that could happen again.
I didn't even see this Cam Robinson trade just happened.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm on top of it. The Vikings are trading a conditional 7th. They can move away if he gets enough playing time. And the Jaguars are we're sending the Jaguars a conditional 5th that can become a 4th if he gets enough playing time.
You're funny, Ziggy. Ziggy just like casually is like, yeah, the Vikings, with the trick Cam Robinson, it just happened. And I was like, wait a second.
It happened 3 minutes before I said it.
Wow. Okay. All right. So the Vikings make a move.
But I don't know why the Bears didn't go and get him for that price, but I'll take it. Cam Robinson's had a good season. Since week 4, only 2 pressures on 120 pass rush snaps. He's not Darisaw. Nobody is, but he's a competent left tackle. We had exactly 0 of those on our roster.
Yeah,
I'm happy to have one.
Quesenberry, you saw, he's a backup for a reason, and he's done he's been okay throughout his career. Like he's filled in when he's had to in Minnesota. But you saw, you saw what happened when he came into the game. He was getting lit up a couple times. So that's great it seems like the Vikings fan base is pretty divided on it, but if you're going, they're going for a Super Bowl this year. Like
we're trying to win.
They're trying to win. Yeah. Like they're trying to win.
When's the next time we're going to be in a position to win more games than this?
Yeah. So I love being aggressive and going against someone. Of course, it sucks to have Darisaw out. We all know that. But this is a spot though, Ziggy. Sorry, I was trying to wrap my head around the Cam Robinson as you were going on that spiel. I was like, wait, what is happening here? I need to see the defense perform at a high level. Like that is I know people are upset with Darnold and the offense for not scoring in the second half of games. I need the defense to lock back in. And Blake Cashman is still questionable. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I thought he was questionable for 1 game. I thought he was going to miss 1 game, and now we're possibly on 3. And they've lost the 2 games he's been out for. So would like him to play, would like Hawkinson to finally get on the field. Obviously, their health is the priority. But this Vikings defense they're the ones that need to make me believe again. Because when they were dominating, I thought, okay, like we can get away with Darnold having his up and down moments, which he probably will have because the defense is ferocious and they've been picked apart. Get right against the Colts And then we'll see what happens with on the offensive side of the ball. Who there are fair criticisms about not scoring in the second half. You can't just score 3 points. You got to get it in the end zone. So there's a lot at stake in this game, for at least in my opinion, as a Viking fan. That go attack this Colts defense. We saw what the Packers did to them on the ground. Let Aaron Jones run loose on them. This is a game where they should dominate both sides of the ball. I'm hoping to see them do that, and we'll see. I mean, so you feel pretty good about it? You feel like a Viking win?
I think that we will be able to win this. I think that like the Vikings they've had some tough games on the road, but they're finally coming back home. I think they'll be ready for Joe Flacco. I can't. This is where the trouble starts, but it's hard for me to see the Vikings lose this game.
I also don't want to disrespect Indianapolis because there will be some Colts fans listening to this. I'm thinking of our
good friend Colts Tommy team is 7-1 against the spread. They've gotten disrespected all season.
They have the best record against the spread in football this year, and Jonathan Taylor's awesome. We said Flacco's been very good. Like the Colts were a game away last weekend from leading the AFC South, and even though their record isn't great, still, they were close to being a division leader, so you can't take them lightly. I mean, I think they're lighter in my eyes than the Rams or the Lions or the Packers, like I said. But the Colts are not a bottom feeder team, especially with
especially with Joe Flacco in.
So isn't that crazy? Who would have thought we were saying that earlier in the year? So I don't want to I can easily see a world. The last time we played the Colts and they had a veteran journeyman. I don't want to say about Matt Ryan, but a veteran quarterback at the helm. That's when we had the greatest comeback of all time. But they were kicking our ass before that. So the Colts have come into our building a lot recently and beat us, or beat up on us for a long period of the game at least. So you cannot overlook them too, because Jonathan Taylor is awesome on that side of the ball. And you said they're getting some guys back on defense as well. So it's a really important week for the NFC North here, where if somehow the Cardinals beat the Bears, the Colts beat the Vikings, and the Lions get a win, like that could be wraps. That could be it on the division. On the other hand, if the Vikings and Bears win and the Packers find a way to beat Detroit, here we are, where basically everyone's tied, and it's going to be a crazy finish to the end of the season. So I can't wait to see it. I also have the Vikings winning this weekend, getting back on track, and I think it's just going to be, man, what a great year to be an NFC North, like a kind of a blossoming NFC North podcast. Like we just have had so many good games this year, so many good teams.
Paul, the more I think about this Colts game, this is sort of happening, the more nervous I get. I'm going to tell you a story about why the Vikings are going to lose.
No,
Garrett Bradbury, Ed Ingram, DeForest Buckner.
Yeah.
But you saw last week, right? DeForest Buckner, I know the Colts lost, but he reignited this Colts defense. I think, again, it's like, I'm not sure how many casual fans know how good this guy is, or if you just sort of follow the NFC North closely, you might think, yeah, that guy's pretty good. He was an all-pro a few years ago. How good is he really? He remains one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. And maybe he's right up there with Chris Jones in terms of how effective he is as a pass rusher from the inside. When I think about our interior defensive line going up against him, that does make me nervous.
Yeah, it should. I just will never forget on the broadcast earlier this year. I can't remember who called him. Remember Bradbury, Mr. Reliable? He's like, what? He's like, yeah, they call him Mr. Reliable around here for a reason. Garrett Bradbury, to his credit, has made...
he's reliable.
He's made some big strides. No, he's made some strides. But Mr. Reliable, I think that's a bit of a stretch, I think so. You know what? Go ahead. Earn the nickname this weekend. Block DeForest Buckner. I mean, I'm rooting for you. So we'll see what happens there. That'll be fun. Sunday Night Football is always a good time. I think NBC has the best production of all like the night games between ESPN on Monday Night Football, Amazon Prime. I just always think that NBC does a great job with Tirico and Collinsworth. I mean, it's very well done. Shout out to my friend Caroline Pineda, who works on the sidelines with Melissa Stark.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe they'll do a good job, but I know they'll do. I know they'll do a good job. They always. All right, we'll wrap it up there. The NFC North preview. Ziggy, thanks for squeezing in an extra record this week.
Talk a little Vikings, little Lions, Packers, Bears, oh my.
Hey, and that's what we do here. We do the NFC North.
Yeah, that's kind of what we are. So we'll be back. We'll bring Jack back tomorrow, and we'll have the week 9. Jeez. It is crazy how fast it goes this season. Like you blink your eyes, you're in week 9.
And maybe we'll sprinkle in a little mailbag.
Yeah, we will. We will, because Ziggy put one out. So we'll have a mailbag, little week 9 preview, Jack Cap of the week, Ziegler Zag comes back. Like good stuff on the Paul Farrington Show. We'll see you soon.